We're going to make some shorts for the little dudes today with some pockets. Alright, so go ahead and like this video because you're going to love it and it's going to help you. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and hit that notification bell. Go ahead and look at all of our social medias and give us a good follow. And let's get into what you're going to need. This is the Lark Boxy Shorts pattern from Samantha Marie Designs, which is on sale as I'm making this video. It has pockets. This works with knit fabric or woven fabric. You do need 1-inch elastic. And there's a whole bunch of sizes, and adult sizes are available as well. As you can see, my printer is like doing something weird with the ink. I'm low on ink too, printer. I get you. So you need pocket pieces. You need 4 pieces, and you're going to cut mirrored images. You need 2 of these pieces. This is the back piece, mirrored images. You need 2 of these pieces, the front piece, mirrored images. Here's the elastic chart that's actually included in the print piece here, and then this is the elastic cut for my piece, and I'm doing 5T size, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the fabric out really fast just to help people who may not know how to cut the fabric. I'm going to show you 2 different ways to cut mirrored images. So I'm going to do not on a fold, or not with the fabric folded. So this is one piece here with the pattern piece down, and then I'm going to cut another piece with the pattern piece facing up, and then I will get 2 pieces of mirrored images. And I am using a stretch fabric, but you can absolutely use a woven fabric for this pattern. It does have enough, I guess, give that it would work for woven fabric as well. This fabric's not the stretchiest, so that's why I chose it. So yeah, that's how you would do it, just cutting the fabric folded and cutting out the whole piece, mirrored images. And this is also, again, one pocket here cut on one piece of fabric, and then I'm using the actual piece to cut out another one, mirrored image, and then I need to do this again, and I'm just going to use a piece of fabric here, fold it over, cut all the way around that piece, and then that is my mirrored image. So now I have 4 pocket pieces, 2 fronts, 2 backs, and now we're going to get those pocket pieces. So we're going to grab our pattern pieces once more, because they have a little notch on where you're supposed to place the pockets. And as you see here, when you lay it on there, that little notch right there is where we're going to mark to add or to place the pattern or the pocket. Good Lord. And I'm just using a Sharpie here because it's not going to show up. This is going to be caught in the seam, so it doesn't really matter what you use to mark it, just enough to where you can see it. And we're going to line up our pockets. The straight edge is going to go on the straight edge, right sides together, or right side down onto the right side. So you're going to do this with the front pieces and the back pieces. And then I pin my pieces once I get them laid out here. But once you get everything lined up, you can grab some pins and just pin it kind of out of the way, but enough to keep it where you want it to go, or keep it where it needs to stay. And then we're going to repeat this again. That's where you're going to sew in just a minute, but I'll show you again with the back pieces. You're going to repeat this again with the back pieces, so we're going to grab those and then add the pockets. Make the notches using the pattern piece. Mark that little notch, mark that little notch. You can also snip it if you want to. I'm just being hard-headed and using a marker. So add those pockets on there and then pin them, and then we're going to go over to the sewing machine and do a straight stitch down the edge here just to get those pockets on there good. All right, right along the edge there. I did a 1/4 inch. That's just what I did. All right, so I'm at my sewing machine and I'm just going to go right along like a 1/4 inch here. It actually might have been 3/8 of an inch seam allowance there that I did. But yeah, so you do that on every single one of them. Yep, just keep on going. And then I'm going to grab my elastic piece here and sew it in a loop. Just going to do a straight stitch down. And now I'm going to take the pins out, flip this over, and kind of top stitch right along the edge to make this pocket kind of lay flatter. And I'm literally doing it like 1/8 of an inch away, pretty much right along that side. Not necessarily on the seam, but like right next to it. Not necessarily the seam, but like the ditch part is what they would call it, right beside it. So that's what it looks like. And I'm gonna do that with all the pieces here, just to kind of help it lay flat. Just makes it a better look. This is totally an optional step. You do not have to do this part. I just find it makes it look a little bit better. The finished product looks a little bit better when I do this. So one more. You can also use a cover stitch to do this as well if you wanted to. I just like to use my sewing machine since I was already here. Alright, so I'm going to snip all these little tails real fast, super quick, super quick. Again, another one of those things that I wish wasn't so time consuming. Wish it actually went by as quickly as I can, speed the video up. But then next we are going to lay the pieces. Well, first I need to quarter my waistband here after I get this snipped off. So I'm going to quarter the waistband, which basically literally just means I'm making 4 equal points. This will make it really easy when I'm attaching the waistband to the garment. And so I'm just, folding it, finding the opposite side, and then I match those 2 points that I just did up. And then I find the edge, and then I go all the way to the other edge, and now I have 4 equal points that I will use to match up my seams when I'm attaching this waistband. So now I'm going to lay a back side face up, so wrong side down, and I'm going to place a front side right side down. So right sides together, a front piece and a back piece, because we want this pocket. So when you're doing pockets, you're going to need to do it front piece, back piece to get this pocket on the actual side seam. So you want to make sure everything's lined up to make it look really nice. Got little feet, if you saw that. All right. And you're going to sew all the way around that edge there, and you're going to do the exact same thing for the other side. So again, back piece down, right side up, and then the front piece, right side down, on top of that. So that pocket goes in the side seam. And then we're going to serge that entire edge around the pocket and down to the inseam or out seam. And I did go ahead and add some pins here just to keep it from moving. I lined up my seams here, or my stitching that I did on the pockets, just to try to make sure it looked the best. Again, super optional. You can really pick how picky, or you can pick how picky you want to be as regarding your garments, but I'm a little bit of a perfectionist most times. I'm learning to be okay with things, but it's a work in progress. But yeah, so just match it up as best as you can, and then we're going to go serge it. You can also use a sewing machine for this step. There's more little feet in the background. You're wondering why I do voiceovers mainly now. It's because I have 3 children and they are running around and my house is never quiet. So, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm just putting the pins in here. Keep it away from where you're going to be serging, because that would be terrible for your serger and potentially for your eyeballs. So, you don't want to run over a needle while you're serging. So, yeah. And then we're going to go over to the serger and do the edge here. And I'm going to leave this part kind of, slower. I'm not trying to speed it up so that you can see, because sometimes it's a little tricky to get the pocket part when you're using a serger. But you kind of just have to pull it flat so that it goes underneath and doesn't pop out on that little part right there. The bottom part's the trickiest part, but you want to pull it flat and make sure you're paying attention to where the fabric is going under the needles. I sometimes pay too much attention to the blade part and forget that it actually needs to be going under the needles to get the thread. So this is the part where it gets a little tricky here because you need to pull it flat. So if you need to like stop for a second, regroup, and pull your fabric, this part is where it gets a little tricky. And I'm removing my pin here because it's a little too close for comfort. And I'm just going to kind of pull it, make sure it's flat, and go through. Go all the way down to the edge here. And again, like this takes practice to do it on the serger, and you can definitely do it better on the sewing machine, that little curve there, but just make sure you're catching all the fabric. And I'm going to repeat it with the other side here. We can speed this one up just a smidge because you're a pro now, right? So you're going to pull that flat. Not necessarily flat, you're going to pull it straight. That's the better word. You want to pull it straight so that it goes through the thread and doesn't get missed. All right, so now we are going to open these pieces up and put one right side up. And then I bet you can guess what we're going to do with the other one. We're going to put it right side down. So the right side's together. Now we're going to start actually sewing the shorts, and we're going to do these curves, the inseam curves or the crotch curves or whatever you want to call them here. Yeah, we're going to do those on both sides. And I do believe the pattern calls for a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I am cutting a little bit off here. And you're just sewing those curves. All the way down on both sides. And then go to the other side. This is a really quick pattern. I really love it. This is only my second time using it because I made a pair. I have 2 boys, so I made a pair for one of them, and then I made a pair for the other one. They're both in the same size. One's just shorter than the other one. They're 13 months apart. Sire will be turning 4 in May 1st, and Lowen, our youngest, will be turning 3 in June, in the middle of June 17th. So it's crazy. All right, so now we're going to pull these like this. So where the side seams are actually where they're supposed to go, right? And now we're going to be doing the inseam piece here. Or the crotch, or whatever you want to call it. We're just going to sew that together. And then all that's left is going to be adding the waistband and top stitching that down and then hemming the bottom, and we'll be done. So, but this is like super simple. And the fit of these, I don't have a picture or a clip of the boys wearing them, but they were so ecstatic when they got them. They were really comfortable and they were just so excited. It's so great and rewarding to be able to see the excitement when you give your kid something that you made with your own hands. Like you're giving your kid who you made, something you made. It's just cool. So, yep. Now we're going to add this waistband. So we quartered the pieces, and there are 4 seams, and we have 4 quarter marks. So I like to add the piece that I overlapped to the back. That just kind of helps me know which one's the back. And the back is the one that is higher because it has, a little bit of rise for a booty. And the front a little bit lower rise. just to account for some junk in the trunk and the back. So, all right. And then you just match up those points. And I just use 3 clips because I don't add a clip to that 4th piece because I'm just going to go ahead and put it right underneath there. I leave about a 1/4 of an inch off the top, and that's what I'm going to cut. I don't cut into the elastic. And you're going to then pull each 1/4 piece, pull the elastic to lay flat, and just cut off that excess. And your thread should be right on the elastic. And do that with every little 1/4 piece, and your waistband will be perfectly stretched. You won't have any bunching if you do this right. And again, this is something that will take practice. It does take a little bit of manipulation with that back hand holding the thing steady, holding the piece that's going through steady. You're not really pulling it through, but you are kind of having to guide it since you are pulling the fabric or pulling the elastic to lay flat. So you're kind of having a little bit of, resistance that you have to hold on to. And then I just overlap the part that I started. And this part here, I don't leave a tail or tuck a tail. I just kind of cut it off because we are just going to stitch on top of this anyway. And I'm done with the serger. I am going to go over here and just use a basting stitch to add my tag so it doesn't wiggle. And this is how I add my tag on that back seam. I just kind of do a basting stitch here. So that it doesn't wiggle when I go and top stitch this down. But this is what it would look like when I top stitch it after I remove all these tails. Yep, super cute. And we do have a video showing you how to do the tags as well, so check that out. Because I make the tags. And I just get them printed at my favorite fabric shop, Little Ray's Fabric Shop. Alright, and then now I'm just going to go ahead and top stitch. And when you're using 1-inch elastic and you're using cover stitch, you can always use this guide because the cover stitch is a little tricky because you are doing the top and so you can't see underneath it. So you really have to go by your guides here. And you can pretty much guarantee that when you're using a inch elastic, that this line right here, the second line right there, if you line your fabric up against that you will always catch the 1-inch elastic. So hope that was a good tip for you. It helped me out with like killer I guess I shouldn't say killer. That sounds morbid, but you know what I mean. Top stitching the elastic down. That was a game changer for me. Understanding my measuring guides, and keeping my fabric on the edge there because yeah, it's tricky to do this when you're having to do it on top and hoping that it lines up on the bottom. So yeah, those measuring guides over there are super helpful. But I also use a trick, which I have in my cover stitch video, for hemming the bottom. But yeah, so I'm just pulling, I totally didn't mention that. I'm pulling each 1/4 piece again, just like when we were attaching the elastic. I'm pulling each 1/4 piece flat. So I'm pulling the elastic just so that fabric is flat. Doesn't have to be overstretched, just enough that it's flat and there's no wrinkles. But yeah, that's what you need to do. And then we're just going to overlap where we started. And I just do these in 1/4 sections, so that's just easier for me to handle. You can actually make it even smaller sections if you want to do smaller than 1/4, but that's just what I do. All right, and then I go ahead and snip my little pieces here so that they're out of the way so that I can get a really good overlap piece that looks nice. And again, if you want more tips on how to use the cover stitch, I do have a video, so you can go check that out. You just overlap here and you will pull your string. I show a more detailed version of this in the cover stitch video. So definitely if you want more tips and tricks on that, it's a super quick video on everything that I do with my cover stitch on a daily basis at least. All right, and then we're going to hem the bottom here, and it is a 1/2 inch hem allowance, but that's what my waistband looks like. So again, using that guide on the side makes that perfect. This one's a little bit more tricky, but I have a trick for this one as well. It's a 1/2 inch. I kind of always eyeball these. Once I get it going, I just make sure that I'm staying. Looks good to me. Again, learning not to have to be perfect all the time. And I just fold it around, and then I kind of hold it up a little bit, and I look at the little, I think they're called presser feet or something like that. I don't know. But you're going to need to check out the cover stitch video for this little trick here. But I look underneath, and there's a specific set here that you can watch, and as long as your hem piece stays on top of that, it's getting caught underneath every time. And so like I have perfect cover stitch hems like every single time I use this method. It just you kind of have to hold the fabric up just a smidge that you can see underneath it. And as long as you keep it lined up with that underneath, which you will see if you check out that cover stitch video, you'll get perfect hems every time. Again, it's practice, but once you figure it out, it's like life changing. But yeah, perfect. I'm gonna do the other one here. We just got one more leg, guys. If you're still with me. And again, I just kind of fold it over, eyeball it. You can absolutely use a measure ruler. What in the world? You can use a ruler if you want to. But yeah, I don't. I just kind of eyeball it. But again, check out the cover stitch video. I cannot say that enough because it changed my life when I figured out this little trick. I can't even remember where I saw this trick, but whoever you were who posted this trick, thank you. Hopefully you see this. If not, oh well. It's in the universe now. I said thank you. Alright, and we're just going to cut overlap where we started. And then you just pull everything like normal and it releases. And then once it releases, it pulls everything to the back. It not automatically knots it. And then all you have to do is cut your little tails. And now let's go see the finished project. We're done. We're done. Now let's see them. These are so adorable. So here's them inside out. That's what they look like. Super professional. We're going to flip them. So cute. And of course, they have pockets. Functional pockets. My sons are so excited to collect like rocks or bugs, or hopefully not bugs, but boys. Hopefully not frogs. Those are gross. But yeah. And super stretchy here. Love it. And of course, are you even sewing if you don't have thread on you? Yeah, these are super cute. I'm super proud of these. A very cute pattern. They do have a girls version as well where you can add a ruffle to the bottom. And they have 2 different hem options as well. They have a shorter version or a longer version. And these are the longer version, by the way. I don't think I said that. But thank you so much for sewing with me. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.